Enjoy 24, episode 75. Today we had Joseph Brown on the podcast, a young 17-year-old pro boxer signed with Money Mayweather Promotions, 67-0 in his record, amateur boxing and combat sports. And today we had the pleasure of having him on. We're very lucky to have him on, and it was a great talk. So enjoy 24, episode 75. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you need to do. Enjoy. You know, you got to be a certain type of person. Like, you got to be like mad or something. Like, you kind of have to be like, you know, at the end of the day, you trying to let something out. Is that you? Because I don't see it. I feel like you're just like a very calm kid. I mean,
like I don't think to get into like any type of combat sport, you have to be like an angry type of person. You know what I mean? You just got to be disciplined. It's definitely combat sports is different from anything else. You know what I mean? It just takes a lot of hard work and discipline for sure, though.
Right. And so you start off at 7 and 8, and what's the process like? So you start training, and then when are you actually allowed to compete? Like what age?
I don't know. Like each type of sport's gonna have their different rules. I think in boxing, at 8, you're allowed to start competing in boxing. I had my first competition at 8 in Taekwondo. So every sport has their own rules, but yeah, I started at 8.
Okay. And that was just for Taekwondo. Boxing was a little bit later?
Boxing, yeah. My first boxing competition was when I was 11.
11, okay. And you're undefeated, huh?
Yeah, as an amateur and as a pro.
And as a pro.
Yeah.
Just in boxing or martial
arts? And
art?
everything. 67-0 in like all the combat sports as an amateur, and now 1-0 as a professional boxer.
67-0? Holy shit, man. That's crazy. I feel like that's unheard of. And that's a lot of fights for how old you are, right? Like, is that more than most kids your age?
I'd say, for the most part, yeah. You have the like a lot of the like U.S. amateur people that have like 100-something fights, but I'd say as a Canadian, yeah, it's a lot.
As a Canadian, right?
Yeah. Cause I got fights in Canada and the U.S. I had to go both just to rack up more. But yeah, it's hard to get fights in Canada. But yeah, if I grew up in the U.S., I'd probably have like more on the 100-ish side.
And that's pretty common in the States, like for kids to start like have way more fights.
Yeah, just because the combat sports world is just bigger on that side, so there's a lot more competition that you get to compete against.
Right. Yeah. I mean, with any sport, really. Because basketball's my thing, so like even obviously basketball's bigger. And so you grew up in Langley.
Actually, well, I was born in Florida, and then I moved to Canada when I was 6. And I was in Surrey, and then that's when we moved to Toronto. We moved there when I was 12, and then just recently moved back here.
Okay. So this is the first time you've lived in Langley, or at some point
I lived in Langley while I was here for just about a year. And then
a year, okay.
That's when I was in Surrey. So.
And like you said, like the combat scene isn't shit here. I mean, it's still. Do you think it's getting better, or it's still like way behind the States?
It's definitely like it's growing. It's still behind, but it's also growing too. Like it's definitely bigger than when I was younger. Like I've seen the growth and the improvement. So right. It's starting to grow, and hopefully I can be one of those people to change it one day.
Right.
Change the whole aspect of it.
Yeah, because I mean the only other guy I would say like from Canada, GSP. Yeah. He's really the only guy that's kind of known to be the guy for combat from Canada. And obviously you push yourself. There's a lot of discipline in it, and you want to win every fight, and you are literally undefeated. Do you go into every fight from now on thinking, oh, I'm a little nervous about losing that unbeaten streak now at this point, because you've 67-0 is a lot, right? And
yeah,
obviously you don't go into a fight worried about losing. That's the farthest thing, especially in combat where you could get seriously hurt. But does that ever creep in your mind, like, okay, now I'm this far along my journey, 67-0, 1-0 as a pro boxer, there's a bit of that, like a little bit more pressure of not losing your undefeated streak?
I'd say like yes and no. Like obviously it's hard to like not like totally just like cut it out and not think of it because it's there. But that's not really what I'm focusing on, because if I just think going into the ring, oh, I gotta win and keep the record, that's just gonna put more nerves and more unnecessary stress, and that's gonna kind of throw me off and get me away from my game plan. So I go into every fight just thinking, I just gotta do my best. And I know, like, the best version of me, no one, like, on fight night, no one's gonna be able to beat the best version of me. So that's what I'm focused on doing once I step in the ring, just being the best version of me. If I'm focused on losing, then I'm gonna get distracted. So I just gotta make sure that I'm gonna have my best performance.
Right. Because there's always a possibility of losing, right? Like, it's part of the game, and there is obviously like a chance of losing, and that part never really creeps in, huh? Like, it never even, because a lot of time, because I saw it, like I was watching this because Tank and Ryan Garcia just fought and they were both undefeated, right? And that's like a big thing in boxing right now, where like most guys don't want to like jeopardize their unbeaten streak, right? And I was listening to a podcast. Ryan Garcia was saying that, he does think about it like it is part of the game, losing, right? Like it very is a possible thing that you could get hit, and you could the other man could be a better man that night, and from that he kind of thought about it in a way where it's like it's a learning thing and it's a part of the game, and he's just gonna embrace it with what the loss comes with, right? And I'm just wondering, like, clearly, like, you don't even, like, you just focus on you, and if that loss comes, it comes, but you're just gonna learn from that, right? Like, that's kind of the way.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if the better man won that night, then he won. You know what I mean? You just take it, you go and see what you did wrong, and you learn from it,
right?
And just move forward,
right? And one thing I wanted to talk about, because I feel like Floyd ruined this with boxing, because he went undefeated. Same with guys like Khabib, even though Floyd has way more fights in different sports, obviously. But is that one of your goals, to be undefeated?
Of course, yeah. I love to retire undefeated. That's the plan. I did it as an amateur, and now I want to do it as a pro.
Right. And you're willing to fight guys that are undefeated and willing to like put yourself in that position to go, because a lot of fighters, I don't know if you sense it or you've heard about it, but like a lot of fighters are a little hesitant on putting their record at risk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I want to be great at the end of the day. Like once I retire from boxing and combat sports in general, I want to be like a legend. I want to be like remembered, forever. So I'm gonna have to take certain risks at certain points in my career. I'm not gonna be able to duck and cherry pick everybody. Not that I was going to anyways, but a lot of people do that nowadays to try and protect their record. If you want to be great, you have to go against the best and find out who's the best. If you don't compete against the best, then how do you know like how great you are? You know what I mean? Like obviously I'm still young, so I have to pick my fights wisely as I'm still like developing and up and coming. But once I get to a certain point, I'll be at the point where I'll be able to fight anybody, and it won't matter at that point.
Right. What do you mean when you say pick your fights wisely? What do you take into account when you're picking a fight?
Like there's a lot of other prospects that come up, and they don't make good wise decisions and have good teams around them, and then they'll take fights against people that they shouldn't at that stage in their career. They should wait a little bit longer and make sure that they fully develop into their full skill set.
Like, has there been times where you've disagreed with Dad about some fights, or has it always been on the same page?
There hasn't been any major disagreements. I mean, there'll be times where fights will come up short notice, and the competitive side of me would be like, all right, yeah, let's take it, let's do it, because you know what I mean, I'm competitive like that. But he'll tell me like, no, just it's not right, let's not rush into it. You know what I mean? You don't want to rush into a short notice fight and take an unnecessary loss because it was short notice and you didn't have enough time to prepare. Yeah. But for the most part, me and him were on the same page.
Right. And you're in no rush. I mean, you're only 16, right? Like 17, you can 17. Yeah. Fuck, I keep forgetting. Yeah, I mean, so you got so much time where it's like you don't need to rush or anything. You can protect yourself for a bit and then go all out. Because, dude, I didn't know this. This is crazy. How did you sign with Floyd's promotions? Because that's one of the craziest things. I mean, Alex is he's not very in tune with combat sports, and he knows who Floyd is, and he's like, holy shit, that's insane. So take us through that. How did you get in contact and sign with them? First and only.
And the youngest fighter ever signed by Floyd.
Damn.
Yeah, Jeff Mayweather is one of my trainers right now, and I started training with him when I was, I think the first time I was 14. My dad just became friends with him online, and then over time the relationship grew a little bit, and then I flew down to Vegas to go have a training session with him, and then since then he's been training me, and just being in the gym, I guess everybody in the gym saw my skills, all the different coaches and stuff, and then the word got around to Floyd. And then I was in the gym one day, and he popped in. He just happened to pop in while I was in there, and we started talking like that. And we just grew a relationship like that. And he saw me training in the gym. He cornered me while I was sparring, and after that,
signed you. Yeah. So just based on that one little training session, that sparring, that one day.
No, it's beyond that.
It's more than that. Because I mean, like, it was probably like the word getting back to him. Because it was definitely talk about me in the gym. So he probably found out like that first. And then while he was in the gym one day, he saw me in there. And then I started talking to him. And then him watching me train. And then he came back to the gym a couple times after that too. And then still saw me training. And then one of the times he came back, he actually cornered me while I was sparring. Right.
So it was a few training sessions, the process. And then he decided. And then what was like the conversation? Like he was just like, hey, I like you. You have everything that I need, and you have everything that takes to be a champion. I just want to sign you.
I mean, he told me I was super talented. That while I was boxing, he said I was super cold in there. He told me that, to be boxing like I am at 16, he said I'll be a world champion for sure.
The nail in the coffin was at Colombia, though.
Okay.
So the talks were going back and forth, and I'm just kind of reminding him of what happened. But on one of those occasions, I know they were talking, and Joseph was like, he said, are you willing to fight in the States and just not stay in Canada? And Joseph was basically saying, I'll fight wherever I need to fight as long as I'm signed by the money team. And they had a laugh about it. So when we went to Colombia, right, after Joseph dropped the guy 3 times, the knockdown and so on, I sent a couple of those to Floyd. Like, in 30 seconds, maybe less than 30 seconds, he was video calling on Joseph's phone, and we just sat and talked for maybe 45 minutes, and Floyd was just making his case, stating his case and what he had done for many fighters, including Tank, and he said, basically this is how the contract could be structured. Don't worry about the red tape or what the contract says. He says, you're the type of talent that I've been looking for. You're like Carmel, and I'm going to take care of you guys. I'm going to look out for you. So if it says 2 fights a year in the contract, I'll give you 10, whatever you want. I'm going to be behind you. And we talked for about 45 minutes, man, and that pretty much cemented the deal. And by the time we got back to Canada from Colombia, the contract was at the house. We signed it.
Yeah. And at that point, you can't say no to Floyd, you know what I'm saying?
Never say no to Floyd.
Yeah. And so what's the process like after you sign? Floyd's actively looking for fights for you, or is it you take your time based on how you're feeling and if you're ready, and then you tell Floyd, and then he goes and finds a fight? Or is he, because you're leaving for Vegas tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well,
no,
tonight. And like, what's that like? Floyd just hits you up and says, hey, I got a fight for you. Are you willing to do it or not? And you can say no to him, or what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways for sure. Like if I'm not ready, because I wasn't training or something, I'll let him know, and he'll understand. And then a lot of it's Leonard too, because Leonard runs Mayweather Promotions, Leonard Ellerby. So yeah, they'll tell me beforehand that they want to put me on certain cards, and then that I'll take that. They usually give me a good amount of time for me to get ready and train for whatever whatever
Right.
card they want to put me on.
And have you ever said no to a fight?
No,
No, yeah.
no, no.
I would feel, I would feel intimidated saying no to Floyd, and especially like as you're coming up, like do you feel like there is a bit of a pressure that you do have to accept every fight Floyd gives you, or there's that sense of like, okay, well, like I haven't really proven myself yet. I'm only 1-0. I need to.
I mean, I guess like somewhat, because I wouldn't want to tell him no if he says, "Hey Joseph, I want to put you on this card," then, and I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to do that." Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to, I guess, like disappoint him in any type of way.
Right.
But me, I'm always ready. I always stay in the gym training. I never take any type of long time off. So I'm always ready to take a fight whenever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're always in shape, always working out. Yeah. And how often do you go to Vegas to train? Are you mostly there now at this point?
I'd say I'm more here. I go like every month or so. I'll go down for 2 to 3 weeks.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. One thing I wanted to get into about boxing, man, like, I don't know if you've noticed it, and Dad, if you've noticed this as well. Do you feel like the hype around boxing has dropped off a little bit since Floyd was fighting? Because I remember like back in 2015 when Floyd, or like 2013 to like 2015 when Floyd was fighting, every single Floyd fight, everyone knew about it. Everyone knew when he was going to fight. Everyone knew what was up. And I remember the Manny Pacquiao Floyd fight was one of the biggest events, like sporting events I've ever been a part of. Like, I remember finding out that they were fighting on this day, and I remember I was working at my job and I knew that I was working that day, and 6 months in advance I was stressing out because I really wanted to watch this fight. And after that, even like Conor McGregor versus Floyd, like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but have you seen a bit of a dip in the hype around boxing, whereas like UFC is just like completely taking over combat sports, and they're the face of combat sports at this point? Do you see that happening? I mean, you might be a little too young to remember all those fights with Floyd. I'm sure you do, but what do you think about the popularity in boxing and where it's going? And
I don't think that it's died down. I just think that there's not those big like mega fights that Floyd used to put on. You know what I mean? Because I mean, only he did those types of big mega fights and had crazy numbers like that. And since he stopped boxing professionally, there hasn't been like a huge mega fight like that. But there's still been a bunch of other ones. And then definitely since he's retired, there's been, starting up like the influencer boxing, which has brought more of the, I guess, just casual fan eyes to actual boxing. So you have like regular people walking around knowing real boxers now because of like the influencer boxers, you know what I mean? So I don't think it's really died down. I'd say it's stayed the same or even gotten more popular just because it's spread to like a bigger audience now.
Right. I think the part with influencer boxing, like Jake Paul, Logan, guys from the UFC going over to boxing, it's cool, but do you feel like as an up and coming fighter, like you're working hard, you're in the trenches, like grinding really to, make it. Do you feel a little bit, jaded from that because of how, guys like Jake Paul, he was an influencer, he was a YouTuber beforehand. Because of his platform, because of how popular it was, he can just start calling out people and then he'll get like a big fight like that. And a lot of guys that are coming up and trying to really make a name for themselves and really like in the trenches, like grinding, they don't really get that opportunity yet because of, they're not as popular. They don't have, millions of followers on Instagram. Like, do you see that part of it? And what do you think of that?
I mean, at the end of the day, you could say, yeah, it's unfair and it's fair at the same time. Just like, even forgetting about influencers, just as a regular fighter, the more popular you are, the more you're going to get paid because the more eyes are going to see you, the more people are going to want to watch you. So that's just like a general like rule. Like if you're popular, you're going to get paid more because people are going to want to see you. So it's the same thing with influencers. Like people like influencer boxers, they have millions of like YouTube subscribers or, TikTok followers. So all of those they're getting paid because all of those people, those millions of people that they have following them, want to see them box. So it's like the people that are grinding and stuff and don't really have that attention on them, and they're not getting paid that well, was because nobody knows you. So you have to do your best to market yourself on social media, build up your following, so that way your paychecks go up.
That's a lot of self-awareness, man, because you see that side of it. And are you willing to get that side of your brand to a next level? Like that whole Instagram, social media thing, like, are you willing to, like, you know that the boxing itself, it can only get you so far now, but if you really want to sell seats, if you really want to make a lot of money, now you have to bring up your whole social media side up. Like you're aware of that.
Yeah, I'm learning. You know, I'm still learning because I'm young, and I'm starting to build that side of it too. But yeah, it's important nowadays. If nobody knows you, I mean, it's simple. Like, who's gonna pay to watch you if nobody knows you? You have to have people know you. You have to have fans that want to come out and support you.
Yeah, like some sort of like personality. Like, this guy's funny. This guy's, you know, like Ryan Garcia. He's kind of known to be like the handsome, like, model kid. From what I've heard, like, I'm not like big into boxing. From what I've heard, isn't as elite as guys like Issa Cruz or Rolly.
I mean, this is not me talking about Ryan, but like, because I think he's a cool dude. But I mean, Ryan's not even a world champion yet. I mean, he hasn't won a world title, but yet he's getting paid more than everybody else because of his social media. Like, his fan base is extended outside of boxing. You know, he's just reached the casual people, and that's why he makes so much money.
Right. Yeah. He's reached like the kids that don't even watch sports. It's just because the way he looks, and like, he's a model now.
Yeah.
So you have no animosity towards those people. You're just like, yeah, I mean, hats off to you. I mean, you're doing it right. You know what path you would go down in terms of like getting your social media? Is it like shit talking? Is it, because I feel like, you know, shit talk. I like personally, I like shit talking, you know, when it gets like real, you know. Is that who you are? Because I feel like you don't really shit talk until.
Nah, that's not me. I mean, just my skill is one. After I get a couple fights on like big networks that Floyd's gonna put me on, people are gonna see that and recognize it. Because, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't deny talent when you see it. And also, I think YouTube too. Something I've always wanted to do is start a YouTube channel since I was a little kid. So I think once I get a little bit of time, once I'm not so active, I'll take the time to do that and then build it up as I keep building up my boxing.
I think one of his handles would be the fact that no one's doing it in boxing that has done it on the elite level in various martial arts or combat sports. Yeah. He's a Muay Thai world champion. He's a multiple-time national kickboxing champion, national taekwondo champion. And no one in boxing today is doing that. No one, on the level that he's doing it. They're fully committed to boxing. So what makes him different is that he is a martial artist at heart that went into this particular combat sport, which is boxing, and is going to rise to the top, carrying all these other talents with him, in which he's going to use one day and cross over, hopefully effectively, and win a title in the UFC or MMA as well, which no one else is attempting. No boxer has done.
Yeah, no one.
So this is his handle. This is what separates him from the rest.
Right. Because usually it's like boxers that go into the UFC and try to win. Like Francis Ngannou, he just went into boxing. He's actually, like, he's ranked top 10 now. And Conor tried it, lost. But would you say if you, like, when you become a world champion in boxing and you're all done with boxing and you've won multiple world championships and you want to transition over to UFC and you win a title there, like, you would be the greatest combat sport athlete of all time.
You got exactly. That's the goal.
That's literally what it would be like. I mean, it's undoubtedly at that point.
That's why I have some of the buzz around me now, because of the fact that I was able to do that as an amateur.
Right.
Like, and right now I could hop in with any world-class athlete. I mean, if it's a world-class boxer or a kickboxer or even an MMA fighter, I can hop in with all three of them and hold my own, like right now. So what I mean, by the time I finish boxing and I get ready to cross over into the UFC, it's not like I'm a boxer that had no experience and is just doing it for publicity or whatever type of money they're getting. Like, I'm gonna be crossing in with an actual chance to win, not just crossing over.
You've been training the other parts of
yeah.
Right.
More than boxing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. because one of the posts looked at, it was they were talking about how you want to transition over to the UFC after you're done your career in boxing, and someone commented, well, he's got to learn grappling, and it's like, okay, you have been working on that, and do you think by the time you're done boxing, you've had enough training in the other areas of martial arts to the point where it's sufficient enough for you to excel in the UFC? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. For sure. I mean, I thinking like let's say if my boxing career was over in 10 years, I'd be 27, and I'm practicing jits now and everything, jits
Right.
wrestling now.
To
So
continue
even if I'm not doing it a lot because I'm focusing so much on boxing, even if it was just, let's say, once a week, if I'm only doing it once a week, I'm doing it once a week for 10 years. At the end of those 10 years, I'm going to learn something. And then I'm going to take even more time off from just like not focusing on boxing, but focusing on everything and focusing in that aspect even more, which is going to get me even better for the time when I actually have to go and step into the cage.
right. That makes a lot of sense.
He's training twice a week now
twice a week
in MMA.
And
He's been doing it since he was 8. We never stopped.
right.
And never will.
And that's enough times for you for when you do in 10 years, 27, to when you completely leave boxing and you're not starting from scratch. It's not like day one jiu-jitsu, like what to do. You're already like pretty advanced, and then you just put all your energy, and boxing is there's no problem there, right? So then jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, grappling, wrestling, whatever, and then you've done it enough times throughout the 10-year process to be able to just like really improve and like focus on that, right?
Yeah. Even if I didn't practice it, if I just stopped now and waited 10 years and then started up again, I did it so much when I was younger that I'd be able to pick it up a lot faster than other people would.
Right. It's in your muscle memory at that point. And then, okay, damn. And what's the process now like with setting up fights? Is it once a month, or is it like how frequent is it?
It's just, whenever they give me the call, I'm supposed to be fighting, I think, the end of the month. So hopefully that one will go through, and then I'm going to be fighting on Floyd's undercard on February 10th. And then, you know what I mean? So it's just whenever they call me. But Floyd said that he's going to keep me super active. So I'm hoping it's going to be around like once a month or probably every other month. I'll be pretty active.
Okay. One of the things, man, like I wanted to talk about, and this is like a big part of like the podcast is about mental health, is, like with combat sports, obviously, like there's a lot of, punches you'll take to the head trauma. There's a lot of risk for, lifelong things that could linger on. Is that something, and like, Dad, do you, like you said, like you're the one that, makes the executive decision on his fights. Is that one thing that you worry about at all? Just like, after your career's said and done, 10, 15 years, is that something that isn't even, in the picture right now in terms of, what you're focusing on? Because like for a guy like, I don't know, for like a guy that's like 24, 25 getting into combat and really wanting to go forward, there is a bit of like, okay, well, I'm getting to the point in my life where I gotta know that I gotta have all my, my whole cognition there completely. Like, is that something you're aware of, you've heard of, not really focusing on? Like, what's your stance on that?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm aware of, and my style is very defensive. So I rarely get hit whenever I'm fighting or sparring or just training in general. That's something that my dad's like installed in me since I started training. And that's why I believe that once I'm done, I'm going to be perfectly fine, have all my faculties, be able to speak right and everything. Just like you see, like all the best defensive fighters in the world, they're all fine right now. It's only like the people that would get in the wars and brawl that get old and then start having problems, or you could tell like they're punch drunk or something. Like that can never be me. You'll never see me like, you never see me like that.
Yeah. That's good, man, because it's sad to see most guys like Nate Diaz, like he's done. Like his brain is completely fucked. And guys like, I mean, like you're learning from literally the best, like Floyd. Like he was the type of guy that would never get hit, right? And now he's completely fluent still. He's not punch drunk anymore, like not at all. Are there guys that you can call out right now? Is there a team around you like helping you and telling you when to call certain guys out or when to really like just put yourself out there, or is it something that you just decide on your own?
I mean, I'm pretty sure like when it comes to when the time's right to call out, so like make a serious call out to somebody, you know, Floyd's gonna help me with that because you know everybody's gonna listen to his voice obviously because he's Floyd. But I mean, right now I'm not focused on calling anybody out. I know that once I get to that point where I'm ready to fight someone that has a title, I'll be ready, and it doesn't matter who it is. You know, whoever has a belt is who I want at that point.
Right. And how are you dealing with distractions right now, man? Because I feel like, you know, you're the man right now. You know, people hitting you up, you know, a lot of distractions and all that. Like, you know, I know you have a good family around you, a good team, but how do you keep yourself, you know, even keeled? Because if I was you, I would be like, you know, freaking cocky as shit, you know. How do you deal with all the distractions? Because I'm sure you're getting a lot of that. You know,
I always just try and stay true to myself. At the end of the day, that's not who I really am. That's not how I grew up being. So I'm not gonna change because of what's going on right now. I find it pretty easy to just stay the course that I'm on because I'm just thinking about all my other friends that I grew up being with, like in the positions that they're in right now. Some of them like not even really knowing what they want to do with their life, and then here I am, you know what I mean, signed by Floyd Mayweather, and
That's
you know
crazy.
what I mean. Why get distracted now? I've gotten all the way to this point, you know what I mean, and I'm so close to that world title level. You know, my ultimate goal. There's like, it's like to get distracted now is it's like crazy. Like if I want to get distracted, I should have done that a while ago. I mean, it's too late to get distracted now. I'm too close to my goal.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, and I mean, there's a reason why you're signed with Floyd and you're 67-0 because throughout this whole time you've been focused and you've been locked in, right? Yeah. Like it's like you said, like you've gone to this point. I mean, like your end goal, would you say, is to be the GOAT?
Yeah, of course.
To be in anything, to be in any sport, like there's no reason to do it but to be the GOAT.
Yeah, why not try to be the best? Like, why come in and try to just be like okay? You know what I mean? I want to come in to be the best and become a legend, become a household name.
I'm very excited to see your journey, man, because it's like one of those things. I was telling my buddies, I'm like, dude, like I can't believe we're having this kid on. You're gonna be unreachable in about 2-3 years. Like, are you ready for that though? Like, are you ready for all the publicity and the hype and everything coming at you once? Because once you start making noise and start winning more and more and having Floyd behind you, it's gonna come at you like real fast, right? Like, do you have an idea of what it's going to be like, and are you prepared for it?
Yeah, I like somewhat have an idea of it. So, no, I'm, you know, every day mentally preparing myself for it, you know, taking everyone's advice on how to deal with it and, you know, just getting ready for whenever that time comes.
What's one of the best advices you've gotten for that? I mean, if you can think of, like, because it's one of those things where it's like, you know, like your dad or Floyd, everyone can tell you like, hey, like keep your head straight when all these distractions come, but you don't know what it's going to feel like until it does. What can you confidently say you'll be able to do when all that comes, just based on who you are as a person?
Yeah, just stay humble and just stay myself, you know what I mean? I'm not going to let hype around me or more publicity change what I do. I'm still going to continue to stay in the gym every day and train hard and strive to become a better fighter.
I like it, man. This is I'm excited because I'm seeing him early. You know what I mean? Like I texted my buddy before and I'm like, yo, dude, because he's in boxing too, and I was like, yo, do you know this? He's like, dude, he's cold. Because apparently you went to Rain City and you sparred there, and they were just like, yo, this guy's cold, and like he said you're a nice kid. So do you think people sometimes what's the word, they yeah, just like maybe like, you know, like he's not outspoken, like, you know, like a guy like Tank, well, not even Tank, but like Floyd, like just you're kind of, you know, soft spoken, you keep to yourself, you keep home, but then that vicious side comes out of you nowhere. Like, do you feel like people think of you like that, and you let them think that way until you flip the script on them?
Yeah, I mean, they might. I'm not in their head, so I don't know exactly what they're thinking, but I'd assume that. I mean, with with anybody. If you see someone quiet, not really talking, you wouldn't think much of it. You know what I mean? But I let my hands do the talking.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been good. Is there anything you want to plug? Is there anything you want to, just like your Instagram or whatever?
Most of my social is just real Joseph Brown.
Appreciate you, man. This has been good. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you,
bro.